meeting to order at 7:02.
God lead us in Star Spangled Banner. You're the movie.
Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Lauren, would you do the roll call, please? Teresa Bazade. Here. Rachel Chalesky. Here. Michelle Colella. Here. Kate Canetta.
Here.
Gladys Cooper.
Here.
Lauren Daly here. Joe De Silva. Joe De Silva will be arriving late. Okay. Bridget Gerton. Here. Albert Russo.
Here.
Louisa Britton. Here. And Ralph Bethesda.
Present.
We have recognitions this evening. Would you like to announce?
Good evening, everyone. So I would like at this time invite up Dr. Christy Zalia, who is going to recognize the Women's Club of Danbury, New Fairfield, the recipient of the Connecticut Association of Schools Distinguished Friend of Education Award.
I'm actually going to let our cast member, who
Oh.
is a former principal.
Good evening. My name is Mike Rafferty, and I was the principal of Lone Sabre Middle School for 25 years, and I retired in 2013. I'm still an interim principal throughout the state. I want to make 55 years as an educator. I don't do it for the money. I do it because I love kids and so forth. It's my honor to be here tonight. And actually, this is my second time recently because I visited Danbury Middle School I happen to be the chair of the committee for the Distinguished Connecticut Associate Principal. And I see that she's here, and I think she's a jewel for Danbury Public Schools and for the community. She blew us away, the school blew us away, and I credit both the administration for doing a great job. Great job. But really why I'm here is I'm on the committee for the recognition and awards, which is one of the biggest awards cast in Connecticut. So when you have the Women's Club, you've got to read very carefully. And it's my honor to be here with Christy to award this award to the Women's Club of Danbury and Fairfield. CAS established this award, Distinguished Friend of Education, was in 1983 to honor individuals and organizations whose efforts help to better the schools and communities in which our children learn and live. It is the highest award given by our association to entities not directly involved in public education. We host numerous recognition programs each year, and the Distinguished Friend of Education Award is by far our most popular. Every year we receive dozens and dozens of nominations from schools around the state, and every year it is a very agonizing process to narrow down our selection. This year was absolutely no exception. The fact that the Women's Club of Danbury New Fairfield was chosen for this award from such a large and competitive pool of nominees gives testimony to the power and importance of this work. On behalf of CAS and the members of schools we represent, I congratulate the Women's Club on the achievement of this much-earned recognition, and I thank them for the wealth of resources and opportunities that they have so selflessly afforded to the students, staff, and families of the Danbury community. I would like to have Christy speak further.
So I'd like Janet Javisky come up and accept it on behalf of the Women's Club. These are many of the members. There are other members that are tuning in from home, so hello to you. The Women's Club is no stranger to Danbury Public Schools. They've been helping out in many of our schools, and they're just such a group of generous women who want to give back to their community. And the way that they have been helping us, last year, as many of you know, we started a 501c3. I think I got all those letters and numbers right. We basically have a nonprofit at our school because of so many students that are in need of food. They're food insecure. So from the pandemic, Dana, because she is so amazing, along with one of our secretaries, Terry, and our school social worker, Karina, started the meal train. And so one of our old retired not old, I didn't mean that way, retired nurse
Careful.
practitioners was sewing masks when the pandemic first hit, and we raised tons of money. We were able to fund it. Last year, the funds were getting a little lean, and these lovely ladies put on an amazing dinner for us that raised over $12,000 for our meal train. They didn't stop there, because they love to give back. And so they work with us this year, and in conjunction with our PTO, they have purchased for us 2 picnic tables, and our PTO has 2 picnic tables for our new greenhouse that we got from our Title I money last year. So we are on our way. We need 2 more. Anybody wants to donate? But they have been such wonderful women, and we are really proud to have been working with them, and thought that when I saw the opportunity, Dana and I said, we've got to nominate them for this because they really need the recognition. They don't ask for much, they're not out there, but they're really giving back, and it's just such a great testament to our community in Danbury and how we want to support each other. So I thank you both, for all of you.
What I'm going to say is probably repeating Dr. Zilter. How it all began. In 2019, a member of the Women's Club mentioned to our Community Improvement Committee, Rogers Park Middle School weekend program needed help with some food for 15 to 18 students. At first, we started to buy and replenish the tiny cupboard with convenient food that the students could take home and put in the microwave or just heat up. As time went on, we found more students and families needed help, and that was when I opened my mouth and suggested a silent auction. 30 gift baskets were made and tied with green ribbons. 21 gift certificate information was placed in plexiglass stands ready for the display. And 1 week to go, we were all excited. And then came COVID. All baskets had to be stored, food had to be checked for expiration dates and replaced. Businesses had to be contacted to see if they would still honor their gift certificates for another year. After 3 postponements, we finally held the auction on June the 18th, 2021. It was hard work, we had lots of fun, and we raised a lot of money. I only thought we were going to raise $2,000, and our president, who couldn't be here tonight, she said, no, we'll make 5. Well, we raised over 12,000. And that was the thanks to the generosity of the area businesses, your PTO, and the members of the Women's Club, and my wonderful committee. Then Nancy will probably repeat. Thank you. She's my co-chair.
Hi there. The Education Committee of our club has been involved in many educational projects. They build a lending library for the Interfaith Learning Center, as well as donate supplies. They collect the box tops for different elementary schools. Every year, 40% of money raised from our poinsettia sales is given to scholarships to high schoolers in the Danbury area. The remaining 60% goes to the greater Danbury area charities. Finally, on behalf of the Danbury Club of Danbury and New Fairfield, we want to thank CAS for their award, also Dr. Zelta, Dana Perez, and Karina Chelso. I hope I haven't messed those up. For organizing this worthwhile project. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to public participation, there's no one on the list. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak tonight? Nope, okay. Just make sure. Consent calendar. Lauren, would you make that motion, please?
I make a motion that the Board of Education approve the items on the consent calendar, exhibit 22-43 through 22-48 as recommended.
Second?
Lauren moved, seconded by Al. Is there any discussion?
Just a correction on the minutes.
Okay.
Exhibit 22-43. I was present at that meeting, so could we have a correction at our next meeting that I was in attendance?
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Any other corrections, modifications to the minutes? No. So I need a motion to amend the minutes as suggested.
So moved.
Moved by Kate. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bridget Gerton. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Back to our original motion. Lauren had moved, seconded by, that was you? Al. Any further discussion on the original motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Educational staff representatives on this evening. Our student representative. The floor is yours. How are you?
Hello.
Perfect.
I wasn't able to print out my notes today, so I was wondering if it's okay if I read them through my phone.
Of course, thank you.
Good evening, Board of Ed members, cabinet, and community members. Thank you for allowing me to represent and speak on behalf of the Alternative Center for Excellence. Tomorrow, the ACE environmental science students will be taking a trip to the Norwalk Aquarium with Katya and DJ. On Thursday, Melissa Lasky will be taking students to DHS to experience BirdFest. It's going on. On May 6th, ACE will administer its humanities benchmark. The day is a whole school event that will see students participate in grade level benchmarks to assess argumentative writing skills during a 3-hour session. And it's coordinated by ACE Humanities Department. ACE will be hosting prospective DHS students from May 2nd to May 13th. 20 DHS students will be coming for a day to visit our program. On Saturday, May 14th, from 1 to 4, ACE will be hosting a barbecue to celebrate our founder, Joe Kevin. The day will also include activities for the kids, as well as time for alumni and staff to share stories and special memories related to Joe and the ACE experience. ACE would like to recognize our Superintendent's Award winners, Kristen Bellotti and Nicole Cushby. We would also like to celebrate our, I'm not sure if it's cave or winners, Jennifer Cedino and Nicole Cushby, for demonstrating leadership in the classroom and the ACE community. Thank you for allowing us to share what's going on with our ACE family down on 26 Lucas Ave. Stay safe and remain ACE strong, everyone.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions for our Terry?
When did you say was the Joe Pepper picnic?
It is May 14th from 1 to 4.
Is it open to the public?
It is my understanding that it is open to the public. I believe so, yes.
Would it be in the school?
We are expecting Principal Weber to come back to provide some more details from the last board meeting, the next board meeting, so you can walk us through the events for the 14th.
Any other questions from board members? Thank you very much.
Nicole, thank you and congratulations on your award.
Going backwards, because I see some of our staff representatives, would you like to speak this evening? No? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Action items. Kate, would you do action item A?
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the 2022-2023 school calendar as recommended by the Community Relations Committee and in accordance with Exhibit 22-49.
Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Gladys. Any discussion?
I just wanted to say that, in the conversation we had, Dr. Seelig brought forth the results of the survey that went out to our community. And it was a 60-40 split. 60% were in favor of the half-day sessions. So that is what the recommendation is from the committee. Recognizing that we're not going to please everybody, but we are trying to follow the feedback that we got from the community.
Great, thank you for that. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. One abstention, motion carries. Action B, Michelle, would you do that, please?
2022 high school graduation date. Motion that the Board of Education set the high school graduation date at Wednesday, June 15, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kate. Any discussion? Any discussion about the graduation date? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I'll now open the floor for a nomination for the Board of Education Secretary for the remainder of 2022.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion, I'd like to nominate Teresa Bezay for the position of secretary.
There's a nomination on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Michelle. Are there any other nominations for secretary? So for second. Seeing none, we'll hand out ballots, please. Thanks, Olga. Oh, just.
I'm voting.
Next day,
You're legit.
Oh. Terry, I'm gonna stuff the box I got too.
I love you, Al.
seat up here.
I'm gonna say musical chairs. Teresa, do you wanna take your seat?
Oh, I got it now.
Ralph, you want to-
Back to where I started, next to Miss Cooper. I'll take that any day.
Ralph, do you need an agenda?
I think one's in here, isn't it?
Hey.
I think I have one here.
Oh, yeah, you're in. I'm in like that.
A lot of things happening tonight. Closer to the door, that's what I like. You up? Like I never left, guys. I think so.
Mr. Wilson, the floor is yours.
So, more good news from Rogers Park Middle School. I would like to start there as part of the superintendent update. I believe it was 2 weeks ago now. We had an amazing, as typical of the Rogers Park administrative team and the great teaching staff over that building. There's always great things going on at that school, and 2 weeks ago, no different. The leadership there forged a partnership with the nearby school district. It had an amazing day titled Harbor Me, Rogers Park Book Study and Student Exchange Program. And we have asked Christy Zalita and Dana Perez and staff to come down and walk us through the excitement that took place a couple weeks ago. Thank you. Oh, microphone. Yes, no. Oh, and now it's coming back.
Okay. So, thank you so much for having us here this evening. We have a little presentation so you can get some visuals. In July, this past July, Tim Salem, a Danbury native and principal at Shelter Rock Middle School in Ridgefield, reached out to myself and Dana to ask if we were interested in pairing with his school to do a book study. So of course, the way that we roll is that we'll pretty much try anything, and we love to collaborate and talk with other people and learn from other people. So we said, of course. We met with him, and his media specialist and our media specialist came together and talked about doing a book club. We have very different makeups in our schools, obviously, and we thought it would be important where we have students come together and see that while it may be different in many different ways, we're all still human, and they're all still crazy middle schoolers. And anybody that has a middle schooler or who has had a middle schooler, it doesn't matter where you live. We're all a little crazy. But we still love them, and we use this time in middle school to help them set themselves on the right trajectory, make good habits, and learn from each other. So with that, we moved into picking a book, and Harbor Me was a wonderful book that was chosen by the media specialist that really looks at students from a diverse group, diverse backgrounds, but they're in a school that the students are placed in a room, sounds crazy, once a week with no adult. And it's just like, what are you gonna do? So they forge this friendship, and they learn that although they have all these crazy backgrounds, they all still have something in common, which is that they, at the end, pledge to harbor each other, knowing that a harbor is a place of refuge in rough seas and when things are uncertain. And so they come together and they end up harboring one another. And it's interesting in reading the book, so the assumptions that you make when you start to read, because they don't tell you which kid has which ethnic background or which kid is from a more affluent part of town, and your own biases, which we all have, kind of come to play, and then you're like, oh man, it got me. But it was such a great read for kids. I highly recommend it to anybody, no matter your age. But so what happened is we got together, and then as a school, we used our social justice hub. We're really proud of our after-school programming that we have. We offer many different things for students to get involved in. And so we thought that the Social Justice Club would be the best group to go with. So we had about 25, or there's like 50 kids in the group. We brought them all together, and it ended up being about 25 kids that really wanted to get into reading the book, talking about the book, and then we told them about you're actually going to get a field trip too, which is really cool because no one's been anywhere for 2 years. So each month, we started in November, and the kids would read, chapters 1 through 8, and then we'd meet the library media specialists, Mr. Duff and Ms. Foley. They did an amazing job. They did really the hard work. We just took attendance and got the kids there and made sure we had coverage where it needed to be. But they really did the hard work of getting kids to talk, to share, and this is kids across 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So they aren't just a group of kids that came from an English class. This is a wide, diverse group of students that came together and really started to uncover things about themselves and each other. And so we would meet in person, and then we would meet with Scottridge Middle School online. So we met with them twice. So if you can go to the next slide, then thank you. So I kind of talked about that already. So this is the cover of the book by Jacqueline Woodson. So this was our first digital meeting. So we were lucky to work with CAS, the Connecticut Association of Schools, and Tim and his team had presented previously around book study, and so the lady in the bottom corner, Rosie, is the CAS person who helps facilitate this and help us, and we'll talk about in the later slide, how to move forward. So we met, this was the first one in November, you can go to the next slide. Then we would meet and we would talk, and then we'd come together again with Ridgefield, and then the students, we went through specific questions about the chapter groups. And then our first meeting was in person at Scottridge, and that was back in March. So you see us coming in, that was the top left is when we were all leaving, or you come in and we're all like, well, you could tell who was who, because we all kind of stayed together, they stayed together. And then the team at Scottridge put together a couple different activities of the human scavenger hunt. Find out who has the same birthday month as you, and that kind of like easy icebreaker stuff. So the kids started to say, oh look, oh yeah, you have a September birthday too. And then we did an assumptions activity, which was fun. Of course, pizza brings everybody together. So after our tour of the school, we had some pizza together, and then we ended it with another part of our book study. So the kids by the end were like, oh, I can't wait to see you again. I want to go to school with you all day. It was really awesome to see how they kind of came together as a group and kind of broke down any barriers that might have existed before just because you didn't know anybody. So you can go to that school. And so our second meeting was in April. It was, Mr. Wilson said 2 weeks ago. When they got off the bus this time, there were hugs. And they were like, oh my God, they were so excited to see each other. So our students are in the blue t-shirts, and then Scottridge is right there in the front. And they had we all signed a Will You Harbor Me? We all signed it as we left, and they brought it back to us. I actually still have it in my office. And then we had made a welcome, it's hard to see, welcome to Rogers Park to the Scottridge kids. So you go to the next one. So our day, we started with an acrostic poem, but we put a twist on it. So whereas you're usually going like, K is really hard, what's my first initial? Let's go with D. D for dancing Dana. So instead of going like D-A-N-A, we would try to find what are the things that are common between us. And so the kids would pair up with Rogers Park students and Scottridge students, and then what are the things that are the same? In the top right-hand corner, that was one of my favorites. The way that they all shook out, they were all epic. So they all had an E in their names. And so it was really cool to see the kids connect. And we were in our new learning commons and on our second floor of our media center. And so kids were working on that. Then we moved into our story walk. So similar to what is a privilege walk, we didn't do it in such a it wasn't like as heavy a topic, but it was like, have you ever felt alone? And then take a step back. Or have you ever felt like someone supported you at school? Take a step forward. And so at the end of it, you couldn't tell which kids came from which school, because at the end of the day, we're all having things that help us move forward and things that pull us back. And we ended it with a circle. So we circled up and kind of shared out, and the takeaway from them, we facilitated them, the kids were talking, they shared a lot. Bring it back. But at the end of the day, they walked away knowing that while you may feel alone, when you look across at all the other kids, like they're going through things too. And so, this theme of like having empathy for one another and understanding that, like I said, you're not we came back, we also did a tour. It was fun as Mr. Salem had his first student teacher was in there, Mr. Andrioni, and one of his former students, Mr. Badish, was in there, and Mr. Navarre, so it was like a big reunion for Mr. Salem. And the kids really loved it. Of course, there's gotta be food. We like to represent with Los Pringles, and they provided us with delicious, the chicken, that went quick, the rice was amazing, and the empanadas, well, I mean, we barely got one, which was awesome because the kids really enjoyed food. And then we ended it again with a book study wrap up, and then the kids, our kids had our Rogers Parks, and they had all the kids like signing their shirts. So it was really cool by the end of it that they really connected and shared handles, or Insta, whatever those things are, all the social media stuff. It was for good this time. So we were really excited. And moving forward, we're actually presenting at a poster, we're doing a poster presentation at the CEN conference in May around our collaboration with Ridgefield. And we're working with Rosie and Tim to do a CAST webinar to try to kind of spread this out to other schools to say, hey, partner up with a local school and see how you can bridge some more gaps. So thank you so much for letting us present. We're really excited about it. And you're all welcome anytime to come on Rogers Park. Check it out. Thank you.
Christy, is that your version of dropping the mic? Mic drop, very good. Dr. Zelita, thank you, and applause, and big thank you to your media specialists and teachers at the school. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Voice for Change update for the Board of Education and school community. A couple weeks ago, we had, was that the black box? We had Ms. Heather Lorenz, the civics teacher at Danbury High School, and a number of students. A couple of the students present out on their projects that they were submitting on behalf of Danbury High School to the state of Connecticut, the Commissioner's Initiatives for Voice for Change, in which schools would receive, in which winners would receive $20,000 for presented projects. And Friday, the state made an announcement of the winners, and so there were 2 winners for the state. One that was chosen by the commissioner's office, and then another winner that was chosen amongst the peers. And so, of those 2 winners, and sorry, I just have to grab again, Danbury High School had more applicants than any school in the state of Connecticut. Heather Lorenz, thank you again for your amazing leadership in this. 2 winners. Both, by the way, Danbury High School. The first winner of the student election is, the project is called Water Fountains. Water Fountains, which was led by Chapel Babsar, thank you, and Liam Byrne. The state's $20,000 grant will be enough to help buy and install 11 new water fountain refill stations within our school. There are currently 4 active water fountain stations, refill stations, serving a school of over 3,300 students. This grant will help take out the old porcelain water fountains and replace them with the safe and effective water fountains, which also have a bottle refill station. Creating this project will allow numerous students within the school ready and quick access to water instead of needing to travel between buildings. This will create a more healthy and happy school, in addition to enriching the learning of students as there will be less class time spent looking for water. Furthermore, refilling bottles will have a small but noticeable impact on the use of disposable plastic water bottles, as many students will start refilling those or bringing in stronger material water bottles. Congratulations to the students. And the winner of the Commissioner Award, can't help myself, Danbury High School again, Furniture for the Faculty. Nancy Sarmiento, Matt Newton, and Liam Wan. The commissioner stated she specifically chose this project because out of hundreds of projects submitted to the state, this was the only project that focused on the mental and physical health of the teachers. The state's $20,000 grant will help to provide an efficient and refreshing environment for the Danbury High School staff in the Teachers Lounge. As the school has grown, the number of students who need to work in the teachers' workroom is to eat lunch there has grown too. The grant will help to replace the current furniture with new tables and electric outlets, chairs and furniture teachers can choose to relax on, thus providing a restful environment for faculty. Another addition would be to provide portable chargers if the grant money allows new equipment for heating, lunches, now new refrigerators, and possibly a sink to clean dishes, which be additional upgrades. And then we have a list of all of the students who participated in Voice for Change from the AP Government and Politics and Peer Leadership class. And I have a lot of names here, so I'm going to read first names. Sarah, Sophia, Leanna, Jessica, Jillian, Letitia, Kayla, Reagan, Faith, Mariana, Pamela, Hannah, Paz, Matthew, Dung, Aaliyah, Tyler, Seyfuli, Nancy, Chris, Christopher, Junior, Chiara, PJ, Chapel, Sydney, Ava, Liam, Kanika, Camilo, Jaylee, Justin, Viviana, and Scott. Wait a minute, there's a few more. William, Lisbeth, Caitlin, Haley, Matthew, Nicole, Lewis, Natalie, Taylor, Jackson, Kayla, Florence, Ian, Olivia, Marcus, Olivia, Chloe, Gregory, Chloe, and Alexandra. Ella Lorenz, thank you so much for your leadership. And Dan Donovan, thank you for your leadership. Congratulations, Danbury High School. All those two students took me out of my rhythm here. City Council update. Ad hoc committee was last night, and if you and Grace want to come up, you're going to be nice if you like it. Last night was our ad hoc committee. I recognize all of the board members can't make all of the meetings, and the ones who were able to make last night's meeting, I really appreciate the support. We had a number of folks from the council who were not on the ad hoc committee, but were there. We're also very interested in the outcome of last night's meeting. Several board members, a couple of people from the community, and of course many members from my team as well were able to make it. John and I, representing the district in the budget and the proposed budget. Again, we reiterated our need, rationale behind the $152 million request. Last night, despite our case, last night's recommendation to the council from the ad hoc committee will be a recommended budget, the mayor's budget of $141 million. The team and I know the outcome ultimately will be tomorrow night, but the team and I certainly, we will roll our sleeves up, get to work, and determine what this means for the district. And so our position has not changed just in terms of the expiring grants that we are facing, and the cliff that we've talked about that's been well chronicled for the last couple of years. The team and I will provide an update for the board, probably in the next couple of board meetings, what this means for us moving forward. But I remain optimistic that the partnership we've tried to forge with the city will help realize some better outcomes moving forward. And for right now, we will deal with the hand that we've been dealt and dig deeper and figure out other steps. So we will get back to you with an update. And speaking of updates, a little more positive in this regard, and that is updates regarding Goal 2 for the superintendent's update. Goal 2, family, school, and community partnerships. Ann and Grace from this department provided a brief update of our community relations committee, and I've asked Ann and Grace to come to give an update to the full board. I believe you're going to need us to move in a minute again because you have some presentations to make. The board might recall our investments in family engagement through the positions we've hired called family liaisons. So Ann is going to speak about that this evening. But as part of the goals this year, we've also talked about developing parent leadership programs. We were a recipient of a grant this year, and through that grant, leadership of Ann and Grace, they've been able to mobilize a lot of parents in this community, so they're going to speak to some of those great things going in the community, and I'll get out of the way so that you can provide them something tangible. Dr.
Thank
Mead?
you. Good evening, everyone. We'll get you settled for a minute. I'm going to stand for this. You can? All right, so welcome back to Ralph, and good evening, everyone. This is a great opportunity to share all the work that comes out of the Office of Family and School Community Partnerships. So right now, as you know, we're located at our 17 Cottage Street while the renovations are taking place at our home at 49 Osborne Street. So we're excited. I go there about every 3 weeks and take some pictures of them, the alterations and everything that's going on, and then share with the whole staff so they know what they're going back to, and are getting very, very excited about that. We hope to be able to return the bulk of the people in August, towards the end of August, and then we will move our central registration families, probably our staff, probably back closer to the end of October when registration has slowed down a little bit. So that conversion and that move is still in the works. So go ahead. So I want to just give you a little bit of foundational knowledge on what we do and why we do it, the philosophy behind it. Our goal is to engage, empower, and educate our families, our parents. And when we say families, we try to stay away from the word parents to a certain point because it's really families. We know that our students come to school, that they live with grandparents, they live with foster parents. Not every child is raised by their biological parent, and so we want everyone to feel welcome, so we use that more inclusive term family when speaking about it. So the goals of our office is to place trust and teamwork at the center of the home-school relationship, and that's really what all of this is built on, is how do you build relationships between school and family. And so I think as you'll see through this presentation, that mantra is in everything that we do. You'll be able to pull pieces of these three key parts out. The second one is that we anchor high-impact family strategies in student learning and well-being. Our focus is what can we do to help families support their student learning so that students are more successful in school. And then the last one is we looking at building systems and structures that enables this work in an efficient, high-impact way. And so I can share more documents after this. I've shared one document that I'll walk you through in a little bit, but I can share the Connecticut framework with you, which even gives you more of that why and how come and why we have these high impact, or why we use these high impact strategies. So we ground our work in what's called the dual capacity framework. And I'll show it to you in a second. This was written by Karen Mapp, who is one of the 3 gurus in the United States or international around family school partnerships. She had a rendition that she did for the federal government that came out in 2018, and through a lot of revisions and a lot of work with everyone throughout the United States about what is a good partnership, what is dual capacity, she was able to change that, and you'll see the new model in just a second. But what we do maintain throughout everything that we do is that we consciously link student learning and improving their outcomes to everything that we have. Okay, great. So this is a little bit hard to read, and I will make sure that you all get copies of it, but it talks on the left-hand side, what are the challenges? What are the challenges in an educational system, and then what are the challenges in a family system? Families being able to access materials, access training, and then for the teachers, being comfortable in working with our families. When we first started that pandemic, when we first shut down, I got a lot of calls from teachers saying, how can I talk to my families? This is brand new to me. I had English, I had math, or I'm a math teacher, whatever, but I didn't have a course in what is effective family school partnerships. Can you help me? Okay? And then we go through process conditions, other conditions that have to be in place. And because you can't see it, I'm going to skip right to the end where we really want to, or actually that green section where we want to help build the cognition of parents, the ability to be able to support their children. We want to build the relationships that they have with their children and with their schools. And we want them to become really strong in advocating for themselves and other children in the district. And so I'll share this so you can see it better. So out of this whole philosophical piece, we have written a plan for the district of what we will do, and it is aligned with Mr. Walston's goals. And so, no, it's not a misprint. Family school engagement is goal number 2 out of the 4 goals that Kevin has. So this one is develop strategies to promote a high level of communication, collaboration, and interaction within our community to build trust, confidence, and credibility. And I want to talk to that for just a second, because I very strategically have built the team in which I have. It's really, really important that you have key people on the ground. I don't speak another language. Most of you know that. I don't speak another language. So people will say, how are you the director of this when you don't speak that language? Because I'm very careful in how we coordinate our staff, how we use our community partners, which you'll see later in the presentation, and how we strategically place staff so that when a family comes to the center, they're met in the language that they need. Okay? And so my assistant director is Grace Molina, and she has come in with a whole myriad of skills, great on the technology piece, and so we've been able to jump in to many ways to raise that sense of communication that our families have. Or the ability to be able to communicate. So we are in the process right now of launching the new Danbury website. It's a slow process because you go through many steps from development of the wire frames to what it starts to look like in color and content. So you'll see more of that as that unrolls over the summer. And we are in almost the final stages of Parent Square. This past newsletter that we had last week went out through Parent Square. And as I look at the data, we're doing pretty good. Our families are reading it. I can tell from the back side of the program how many open it, how many read it, how many seconds, minutes they're actually in the program. So I can tell, do they just do, oh, you got a nice letter from that guy? Or look at all this stuff going on in this letter. And so that's really, really important. So we can share those stats down the road with you too. Next phase in that, schools will start to use it. Right now, we're just using it from the district office side. We continue to do, as I said, that newsletter that goes out through the Parent Square to educate our folks, educate our communities, share resources and things that are coming up, events that are important for families. I already talked a little bit about that welcoming center. It does have registration, it has an extended learning program, it has early childhood resources in it, it has a welcome packet, so when families first come to the district, they get this nice welcoming packet once all their registration paperwork is good to go. It has the calendar in it. We'll be very happy tomorrow to start the packets for next year and put the new calendar in. Thank you for voting. Not tonight, I can't tell you how many people have come looking for next year's calendar already. Has a letter from Mr. Walston in it, has all kinds of community resources. Many of these families are new to the community, maybe sharing space with other families. They need heating assistance. They need to find out where to get medical insurance and food, all of those different types of things. So that welcoming packet has great stuff in it. It also is jam-packed with the importance of good school attendance. And so that's in many different languages in that packet that says, we expect your child at school every day unless your child's sick. We are in the middle right now of a district-wide welcoming school initiative. We have 77 people trained in this initiative. This is a curriculum or a protocol that's written by the Capital Region Education Council. So all of our family liaisons went through the training, and then we had representation from every school. I believe tomorrow is our first walkthrough at Rogers Park. So a welcoming school specialist from CREC will come down, will meet with the team that has been put together at Rogers Park to do this walkthrough. They're going to look at physical environment. They're going to look at when they walk down the hallway, does somebody just walk the opposite direction, or do they say, hi, how are you, can I help you? They're going to look at how they're treated when they arrive at the school. The signage is, can they find the front door? Do they know where to park? They're going to look at written materials. Is everything just in English, or does it go out in multiple languages to the family? There'll be a couple of debriefing after they do the walkthrough, and in this walkthrough, it's teachers, social worker, nurse, the principals decided on their teams, and all of them have pulled in families, so from that school. So we're really excited about that. Some PTO members are on there. Some of you may have gotten calls.
We actually, Luis and I went for a walkthrough at West Side today.
Okay, beautiful.
So it started.
Great. So it did start today. Okay, great. Great. I didn't look at the schedule to see exactly what was up because they're doing it now. Yeah, great. Good. So that's good news. What will happen after that visit, the people from the Capital Regional Education Council, or CREP, will come back and generate reports of improvements at school. They'll put a small budget line into it, and then we'll work with our sites and facilities and our budgeting department, John, and Superintendent Walston, to make sure that we can, fund these small things that need to be done in these schools. Otherwise, it's just a report that sits on the shelf. And part of the work in this will also, the recommendations will go into the school improvement plans as well. So this is all part of a bigger picture. As I spoke last week at the community meeting, we had a great showing of 99% of all of our kindergarten teachers did virtual phone calls, home visits at the start of last year. We knew that we couldn't bring all our kindergarten students into the schools because it was just too much and we were still trying to be COVID safe. So what we did is we had them, the teachers call home, make an appointment to meet with that family. They could do Google, they could do a Zoom, they could just do a telephone call. And the teachers asked one question: what are your hopes and dreams for your children? And that just opened up the door for a flood of conversation between the teacher and their family about that child. Again, focused on that child. And from that, the principals really got to, the principals and teachers that did the visits, kindergarten teachers, really got to understand where the families were coming from and what makes them tick and what was special about their children. So the very first day of school, it wasn't like all these new children walked in. The teachers already had an idea of what the children liked and what they didn't like. So it was, again, creating that bridge between home and school. The second to last is our open communication, our monthly chats with Kevin. I think there's one coming up right after vacation on that Tuesday night. They have been well attended. Pretty deep conversations with the families and a couple of community folks that join these conversations. And I don't know if you'd like to add something to this about that. They're great conversations. They're very informal. Their questions are difficult to know. Okay. And lastly, in this goal, we have, or my office has convened what I'm calling the menu improvements. So we engaged Sodexo, who is our food service provider. We've gone through a couple renditions of the meeting. Our first one was just a general meeting. How are we going to structure this? What are the needs of this group? What are the needs of the district? What are we hearing from parents, and how do we move forward? Our second meeting, we brought in students from Morris Street. And boy, those little 4th and 5th graders, they're really, really honest about food, let me tell you. And they not only told us what they didn't like, they told us what they liked and how to improve it. And so immediately, I hope as you looked at the menus, you saw a change in those February and March menus. January, so it was the February menus. Leah, who is our dietitian, is always open to new ideas of different food within the USDA guidelines that we're given of what they can do. And then in individual kitchens, they make sure that, if they know, so in my building in Cottage Street, or our building in Cottage Street, the preschoolers don't like stuff together. They like chicken, they like sauce, they like the beans, and here's the burrito. And so Amanda, who is our food person, she serves it just like that, and then the kids put it together. The minute you mix that all together, they don't like it. So, and we're, aware of, some sensory issues with our children and not liking different textures mixed, and so Amanda does a great job, okay? They also put in place, Sodexo put in place a feedback sheet that all of the lunch staff could give her. So she's getting monthly feedback from the staff that feed the kids, what they like, what they didn't like, and how to make improvements. Our last month, we met with the students at Rogers Park. So we've been meeting pretty much every other month for these changes in the menu. So hopefully, you're seeing better menus, your students are coming home from school, for those of you that have students, and saying, I like lunch a lot better, okay? You know, that's the goal of this. We will continue to meet with them every other month to improve these menus. We've had a lot of policy questions about could children receive a second fruit or a second vegetable, and we've tried to clear up all of that. And just recently, we have taken their menu change text and added a Spanish and Portuguese version to it, so that parents can sign up ahead of time. You can get a text in the morning that, you know, you're thinking it was going to be chicken burritos, and now it's changed to a corn dog. And your child goes, yuck, I'm not eating that corn dog. So as a parent, you can provide a lunch for your child that day. So we're really, really happy with the changes that we've been able to make there. So that's an ongoing process. All right, so now we go to goal 2B, which is really our family education opportunities, our opportunities that we have using our community partners to be able to pull in funds to run the actual office itself. Because my office also works under many federal and state grants, most of those grants have a 5% set aside that all have to go towards family engagement. So like our 21st Century Learning grants, we have 4 of those in the district right now, they have a 5% set aside. So we take some of those funds, you'll see who some of our other funders are, who some of our partners, and this is how we're able to bring all this education to you. So Grace has her earpiece in here somewhere.
I actually took it off.
She took it off, but we have Parent C on Tuesday nights. So right now, there are, yep, that's what it was, 22 people taking this course. This is a course that was designed by the Center for School Change in Hartford. We have Patrice Nelson and Felicia Bears out of Manchester, who are actually facilitating the 12-week course. Save the date of May 3rd at 6 o'clock, place to be determined. You will all get invitations for the graduation. This is the 8th time that we've been able to run this class since I've been here in the district in 2008. The funding comes from the Parent Trust Fund out of Hartford. So we're very through the Department of Education, so we're lucky to get that. Also, along with that, we've just received the PEP. Oh, so let me just go back to the first one. Parent C is helping families understand how boards function. There were some people that came to a board meeting that one night that, I don't know, we had snow or it was canceled and we went virtual. They were all going to come to class. They were so excited, and then we went virtual because of snow. But they'll be back. So they're understanding how all those board policies are created, and then what is their role in helping to create positive change. Okay? They've done all kinds of hands-on activities. Some of you may have been interviewed over the last couple of weeks. I think somebody got you, right? Yep, absolutely. So they're looking to make positive changes on a district part, the school part. Our People Empowering People, this will be, I think, the 14th or 15th time that we have run this. Grace went with one of our family liaisons, Shay Marie Molina from Rogers Park, to take the training through UConn, and they will start that class on the 27th, and that will go for 10 weeks. We're all kind of short on time because some of this funding has to be done by June 30th, but we're really excited, and you have how many folks signed up already?
We have 18 signed up,
So
so
that's-
25 spots available.
So that's a nice number to work with. That will be in person. Parent C right now is virtual. Because when we started it in January, we weren't sure where we were going. People wanted to be safer, just staying in their own homes. Great, can we go to the next one? All right, ongoing workshops that we have. So though we try to aim for the higher impact ones that are a longer period of time, those 10 weeks, those 12 weeks, there are certain workshops that lend themselves to be a shorter workshop. So we have talking to your teams about alcohol. Kelly Trucius and her group ran one already on drug prevention, right? Back a couple weeks ago.
Hidden in plain sight, so
Hidden in plain
what
sight,
to look
that's
for in your kids' bathroom.
Yep. So, we hear from parents, I'm concerned about this, or we get a call, I don't know what to do with this, or I talk to Jim Antonelli at the police department, he's like, we really got a problem on this, how about we join together and do some parent education around different topics. We have, so the Talking to Your Teens about alcohol coming up in 2 weeks, the 8 dimensions of health and welfare, wellness, strategies to reduce drug and alcohol use in the home through prevention is on May 12th. And then Internet Safety Digital Parent Seminar. It's only for parents that night with Scott Driscoll, and click in last week's newsletter and all that registration material is there for families. We'll broadcast further the internet one, we'll broadcast all of them further, but the internet safety one is really, really important at this point. We are seeing all kinds of new things. I'm sure you're hearing them on the news all the time, of programs that students are getting into that they just don't need to be into. And so how as a parent can you, give them that internet connectivity, but how can you make it safe for them? And so Scott does a really, really effective, kind of scary presentation, but it makes you realize there's a lot kind of out there lurking on the dark web. So I feel, and my team feels that we've given families lots of opportunities for feedback on district-wide decisions and budget development, and certainly that was around the ESSER funding and then the development of this next year's school budget. I guess the kudos program to take away that we're really, really proud of is our school-based family liaisons. And they are the ones that are creating that bridge between families and schools. When Mr. Wellston came in here to the district, he was like, what do you mean? Where's your liaisons? Who creates that bridge? And I said, well, it's whoever at the school can do it. There's not a person that's doing it. And so we have taken the best of the knowledge that we have from other districts throughout the United States and in Connecticut of what they've done, and we are definitely flying the plane as we're building it, because every school has slightly different needs in building that bridge with their families. And so we only have at this point 2 schools that don't have one. We're excited that we've been able to, I joke how I stood on the corner and said, do you like families? You do? Apply for this position. And we have found some absolute wonderful folks out there to be our liaisons. So far, every single one of them is bilingual, which, when you walk in the door and you don't speak English and someone's speaking your own language, immediately there's a sense of comfort. So that has, been absolutely great to be able to do that for our schools. The feedback from the principals is just wonderful. We meet with them every Friday morning religiously at 10 o'clock in the morning. We bring in community resources so they hear about what does action do, what are the resources that they have there. We bring in Children and Families Aid of how do you help a family link to mental health services, all different types of services out there. Then tomorrow we start back with my baby's favorite Play to Learn playgroups. Anybody want to come out at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning? This is like so exciting to be able to bring our families with their children birth to age 5 back into our building at Sacred Heart in the gym to partake in an hour playgroup. So they come in, they play for a while. We then have a curriculum. It's either a book being read, some usually pretty good messy sensory project for the children to partake in. We have some gifts for them to take home tomorrow. Then there's a 10-minute segment where the other adults will pull away the children and play with them while the parents go over and talk about something that they need to know about. Tomorrow they're going to look at the Sparkler application, which is a developmental application that we encourage parents to use on their phone. They get a daily tip specific to their child's age of activities that they can do. And then we will start to do the ages and stages with all our families. And what we have found in these playgroups is we are able to help refer many, many families to our Birth to 3 program, which is a state-run program for children or for parents who have concerns about their developmental milestones for their child. And so that Birth to 3 program is able to bring these families in and many times provide services for them that then they're done and released out of that service and never come into our 3 to 5 system. So we know that early intervention works, and that's what we want to do with families. Okay, the next page. this section goes really, really fast. But I just want to highlight some of our community programs and our partners. We had, we still do, we have a fair amount of parents come in to register their children. They're new to Danbury. They're ready to go. They're ready to start school. And then they say, you know, today my appointment for my child's physical is May 5th. Well, that means that that child can't start school until after May 5th. So we have partnered with the Richfield VNA Health Services. We run a clinic every month. So for like next Monday, they will send in their social worker, hearing, sight, registered nurses. They do all the pre-physical part. And then on Wednesday, the doctor will be there. We'll actually do a physical with the children. She will, Dr. Saunders, she's absolutely wonderful. She will sign off on what vaccines they need. The social worker will again meet with the family if there's any other resources that they need. They fill out that entire blue form, front and back. We have, it's kind of like this machine work. You know, you do this and then you move to here, you move to here. We have translators in each section, and so the families get their whole physical. And we've been doing not only our school-age children, but some of our babies too, because we've got a lot of 3 to 5-year-olds that aren't getting physicals like they should be, and they're just not up on their vaccines. So thank you to Richfield VNA Health. Next one is our Family Leadership Training Institute. That is the other big parent training here in Danbury. It's run out of Families Network of Western Connecticut on Main Street. That's a 20-week course. I know many of you have been through that course as well. And some of our 21st century funding helps support that program, that 5% set aside that I was talking about. Go ahead. Okay. Yukon Fairfield County Extension Service comes in through our 21st century program, buys meals for the families, and then through this pandemic, we haven't been able to do the cooking on site. They do a Zoom meeting and talk to parents about healthy meal preparation. And it's really, they're really culturally responsive, because they add in all these different foods that families like, but they're showing them how to prepare meals that don't have a lot of fat, don't have a lot of sugar, and really, you know, fulfill the vegetables and the fruits. So Fairfield County Extension Service, that's part of our Yukon program. Last week we found out through the Stop and Shop charities that we've been working with that Broadview, Stoughton, Rough Rogers Park, and Haystown food pantries will share a $20,000 grant from Stop and Shop for their food pantries. So by the amount of students in their school, they'll receive gift cards for those families to be able to go shopping at Stop and Shop. So those families that are identified as food poor. We are starting to see, unfortunately, the need for food to going back up. It's really sad. Last week we're also notified too through the Connecticut Master Gardener Association that we've been granted funding for our summer pollinator, vegetable, and flower garden at Great Plains School. And so that will be started with our ELP students towards the end of the school year, and then managed the entire summer with our Sensational Summer program, and then back to our ELP in the afternoon. It'll be in their courtyard, and it'll just look fabulous, and Principal Smith is really, really excited about it. This is another partnership that we have through the state. Connecticut was one of the 11 states that applied, out of I think probably 50 states applied to the federal government for a family school partnership grant. 11 districts were chosen, Connecticut being one, and the Capital Region Education Council administers this grant. And what happens here in Danbury is they are all part of this national network of partnership schools. And so I work with those schools in making sure that they have more goals around, this year we have 2 academic, a behavior, and a family engagement. So for instance, at Mill Ridge, they're planning a weekend of cleaning up around the school as that engagement piece. Our building, we're going to be doing, hopefully building some picnic tables to be able to encourage families to be outside or a place to sit for registration. Again, the 2 academic and the behavior or the social emotional, our goals are all aimed at encouraging and supporting better student success in school. So, lastly, we're coming to the end here. We have been so fortunate to have been, especially during the pandemic, work with the Connecticut Food Bank truck in Boehringer Ingelheim. They did great food. At the bottom picture there is the BI folks. We would, the beginning part of the pandemic, go every day, pick up food, and then we would go to the federal housing sites in Danbury and deliver meals, Boehringer stays. Sound to supporting us as we start to move forward in our new endeavors in Danbury. The next one is the Moore Street Youth Program. Through our Family Resource Center, they just received a nice grant to do more youth development and theater work out there through SDE. Of course, Danbury Library, Danbury Youth Services, and United Way all support the programs in one way or the other through services. We don't see usually cash through them, but it's referrals and it's services that we partner with them. And our last slide, this is our newest program that we are proud to be rolling out. We constantly hear from our families, we don't understand this U.S. school system. Back before we moved out of Osborne Street, we registered a lovely family of 3 boys from the Congo. They came out, they got registered. We knew that we thought they were all set. They came back about 3 weeks later and they said their laptops didn't work. They didn't know they had to plug them in. They had no idea what Power School was. No idea how to get into the computers. What was a computer? They just had never. What's Google? Right? They just had no idea. And so, based on parents saying we need support in this, we have been able to partner with the Harvard Graduate School of Education out of Massachusetts. We have 3 of their senior graduate students working on this program funded by Lindy Corporation that is in the process of developing 2 different modules. The first module is really technical. What does it mean to get into Google? How do you get into Google? How do you navigate these computers? How do you get into Power School? What does Power School mean to you? How do you use Parent Square and all of that? The second module will be more based on the learning of students, and we will be out getting clips done from the first grade math specialist that then will go up into the module in different languages, so parents can click on these modules and find out that, you know, they're a first grader, they need help in math, they'll be able to click on that and be able to get that help that they need. Okay? We're fortunate with these Harvard students, they're doing this work as part of their project. We do have a focus group on a Thursday night at 7 o'clock. So if you're interested, we can send the link out to that if you want to hear about families responding to them. We've also done a survey out to our new families too that have just recently come to the district on what help do you need. And so we're hoping that a program like this will level set the parent knowledge before they even start schools and end as they start schools so that they're off and running and really successful. So I think that's the last one. Any questions, thoughts? Yeah.
Nice to see you again. Great job.
Great
job as always. Can you send a copy?
Yes.
I'm assuming I didn't get it.
Yes,
because
I will
I'm
send all of this
here
to
for
you.
5
Absolutely.
minutes.
Yep. Good.
Also, do you typically send it ahead of time in the agenda when?
I just didn't get it done. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Focusing you. Yeah, they sprung 2 presentations in one meeting, and I said.
I will get it.
All right, cool.
I'll get it out to you, because I really,
will get nothing
it's
like it.
interesting that people really see that.
Can't spring a
parent-
presentation. I'm not saying you, not you, I'm just saying in general, you gotta get a week before to ask some questions, right? I mean,
Absolutely. And you know that our door is always open, come down, see us, pick up the packet. From our welcoming schools, work that we did, the principal said, you know, could we put a sheet in for our schools in the packet? So principals and school secretaries are working on their sheet. We sent them a template and said, please fill this out, tell us a couple things about your school, who's the key folks that people need to know. And so that's out there. And so when somebody comes in, Kara comes in to register a child, she says, I've got one at Broadview, one at whatever school. We'll say, here's your packet, here's your sheet for Broadview, Danbury High, and whatever.
I'm definitely glad.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mead, Grace Molina. Thank you both for your leadership. And Board Chair Gillespie, that concludes the superintendent.
chairperson's report. I don't have anything really except to say welcome to our new member, Ralph Edgefessa.
Thank you.
Welcome back, I should say. Are there any other board communications, comments, questions?
I just need to give a shout out to my friend Chapel for his success with the Voice for Change program. He would be very upset if I didn't mention that. Congrats, Chapel. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any updates, comments, questions?
And I wish our new secretary well and success.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry, for stepping up. Serving that.
Now, do you need my part now this?
You're good tonight.
Oh, good tonight, okay.
I'll visit your back.
There's a quiz.
I only have to do executive board minutes.
Yeah, we'll get together and talk about it offline. Thank you.
So you're gonna be a presentation on that, sprung us and.
Only for you, Ralph.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Ralph, don't start extending the length of our meetings. We heard about
So
the
you get it a
Ralph.
week before so you can ask questions. I can't ask questions on the fly.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Joe, seconded by Al Russo. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
And Terry and Ralph, sorry you would have had my vote, but I was coaching baseball practice.